Welcome to the You Decide podcast. I'm Dr. Tiffany. We are going to bring you stories of ordinary people who have chosen to live an extraordinary life, outside of their comfort zones and into confidence, possibility, and certainty. You are just one decision away from living your most aligned life, because let's get real, that's what we all want. Hey guys, today we have Kristin Jacobsen. I will be calling her Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Kristin and Dave, Alex, and Alyssa have been part of our practice for 13, right? Or is it going to be 14?
13, years? Yeah, it'd be close to 14, I bet.
This fall, I think. Yeah. Crazy. So for those who don't know, I've been in practice for 15 and a half years. So that's just been the majority of the time that I've been in practice. And they are a lighthouse family, which I will describe as the people I can always count on to share light in what I do. And instead of saying the alternative health, it's not alternative for you and I, right?
Right.
Chiropractic or anything to do with how we live is very much mainstream, and that is different than many people think. So I wanted to get her on here. I want you to share your family story, where you came from in your mindset, belief, how you lived in terms of the health of you and your family, and then how that has evolved, because as we have kids, things change, things evolve. We have challenges that we maybe never thought we would have, and we start to live in a certain model, which that's why I consider you and Dave very much of a lighthouse in the chiropractic model of always looking at what is really going on, right? Way past what I feel right now, and what do I need to do about it? Where's my mindset at? Where am I limited? All those things that, the conversations that we have like every week with you guys. So you're going to mostly talk this whole time.
All right.
I want you just to share when Alex was 3 and you guys entered into my office, like how was life before that, and what was your, holy crap, this is something that is amazing.
Yep, so when we started, Alex was 3, and our life before that was we run to the doctor pretty much every month for ear infections. So, and we just thought that was normal. You go to the doctor the first time, oh yeah, he's in daycare, that's normal, that's just how it is, meds every month. And after a while, I had to start questioning the meds.
It was really every month?
It was pretty much every month. I think we were in there.
Oh my.
For the first year.
Wow.
And then they put tubes in, he was probably 18 months. And yeah, that stopped it, but he was still sick and everything from, from ear infections. And that seemed to be his, thing, was always ear infections. So once I met up with you at the Women's Showcase, I believe, back.
What was it?
In 2006, probably. And that kind of just dawned on me, hey, maybe we should try something else. Before it was always, no, we're going to go to the doctor. That's just what you do. It's normal. And, that really isn't normal once you start looking at it. And there are alternatives.
Yeah.
And once he did start getting adjusted, he hasn't had anything since.
Right. So do you think, so many people will say, oh my gosh, if I just would have known earlier, right? I mean, I hear out of the mouth of every single parent, when it makes sense, it's like, oh my gosh, why didn't I know about this earlier? Can you just you came from a medical family, right? Small town, rural North Dakota, as did I. It was very much, my gosh, if I had leg pain, I took Advil, it's just what we did. I didn't think anything. We didn't think anything different. We weren't sick a ton, but the first line of defense was always the doctor.
Right.
Did you grow up like that too?
I did. Yeah, my mom was a nurse. So, she never really pushed medication a whole lot, but we did go if something was wrong, you'd go to the doctor and you take Tylenol or, but I think a lot of it, that was just a background. And with her being a nurse, she'd always analyze everything, that it has to be this or that. And I think when Alex was little, I had gone up to visit her up at Merit Care at the time, up on OB, and some of the nurses there are like, oh, you need to take them to a chiropractor. And I was like, no way. I'm like, not going to do it. I'm like, that's just crazy. Like, that's going to help anything, because I had heard everybody else going to the chiropractor and they'd have to go, monthly, weekly, all the time. They had to go all the time. And I was like, well, they're just going for back pain. I'm like, that's just, not going to do anything with this. So,
gosh, isn't that like nuts about how much your philosophy has changed now?
Oh, definitely. And now when other people are using, medication and everything else to treat everything and still not getting any better or going anywhere with it, I'm always suggesting, but some are open, some aren't.
Yeah, well, and I think, and that's why I consider you a lighthouse, because it doesn't mean that person's right away is going to be like, aha, oh my gosh, right? Kind of like you with the nurses would say to do this, and you're like, whatever. Until it gets bad enough, until what you knew or you thought you knew should work doesn't, that's when we make change, right?
Right.
So at some point, how many times can you continue to go into the walk-in and have those antibiotics not work and get tubes and him still be sick, that you're like, whoa, this doesn't feel good. As a mom, that doesn't feel good, right?
Then when they're giving them really high doses of stuff at that age, I was like, started questioning everything. I'm like, no, that's not, that is not right.
So can you talk about Dave's perspective on this? Sometimes in families, one person is like, yes, this makes total sense. And the other person is like, what are you talking about? Because I think the powerhouse families are the ones that really can come together on, well, how we're going to raise your kids, right? In many different examples of. So can you just share a little bit about Mr. Jacobsen?
Yep. At first, he's the first one that in our family that had gone to a chiropractor up kind of by our house. And he used to fix airplanes and, lug in the big heavy brakes and everything. His back had gone out. And so he had gone to a chiropractor up by ours, and very medical minded chiropractor though. So, he had gone, had temporary relief, but it never really fixed anything.
Right.
He'd use a TENS unit and send us home with that. And a lot, it just didn't have the effect. But, once he saw, I think it was just Alex and I that were going at first. And then I talked him into coming. And it changed his whole perspective on everything. Once he felt the relief from, the back issues he was having at first. Yeah. And then now he knows, much more, healthy choices than that. And he's much more than just back pain.
Right. And I think that's so, and I asked that for many reasons, because the mom has that, like, this something doesn't feel right a lot of times. We're one of the first ones to actually communicate that. And the guys are a little bit more structural in their thinking, right? So, well, why would he need to go? He doesn't have pain. Or so even Dave, when he gets adjusted, many times is very connected to his structure, right? And so after all these years, it just about, I don't know, every other adjustment probably, we talk about your structure is being affected because of your brain and because of your stress. So from his perspective, yes, it makes total sense, but he thinks much different than you. He'll come in and say, oh yeah, I was sheetrocking all weekend. And I say, well, yeah, that's the one physical part, right? And we know having your head above or hands above your head while holding a lot of weight is probably not going to feel that good for your body or your spine. But the stressor that it creates, now he's starting to attach to, like, yeah, Tiff, I suppose work is kind of stressful, or I slept like crap all last week. No wonder why I don't feel good. which is why I ask about guys, because that's how they think. They think, and even Alex now being 16, right?
Right.
He attaches things to hockey or to not feeling good in his spine, right? Something hurting compared to how you think.
Oh, and he's a huge advocate for, nope, I'm not eating sugar. Nope, I don't want that. No, And the other day he even mentioned, he's like, yeah, I was talking with my friends and they all get the flu shot. And so he brought up this conversation amongst a bunch of 16-year-old hockey players and other friends. And he was asking them, he's like, well, why do you get the flu shot? Well, because, that's just what we do. He goes, well, do you get the flu? And he goes, yeah. Or they're all like, yeah, I still get the flu. He goes, well, I don't. He goes, well, then why do you get it? So he brings it up, and he, kind of shocked me as a 16-year-old that he would bring it up and be aware.
Right. Well, I think, they're always watching us and they're always listening to us. So as parents, when we can talk about, I think one of the parts that I love about chiropractic as a philosophy in the body is you're always thinking more, right? You're thinking a little bit more past what's actually going on right now as to what could be creating it. And we don't realize that with our kids until he says things like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh, he has been listening or watching, or smashes his head into the, what do they call them in hockey?
Oh, into the boards?
Yeah, boards, and you have a concussion, or you're sick, the first thing you do is get the kids in, right?
Right.
Yeah. So what have been the biggest challenges in living like how we live and thinking how we think, do you think?
I think a lot of it is just, everybody else runs to get Tylenol. They run to get this, run to get that. And, I think sometimes people look at you a little different, like, kind of crazy, but no, I'm not the one that's sick all the time or has sick kids, or, if they do, it's for maybe a day or two and a little sniffle, but I think just going against the grain and, doing your own research and finding your own path.
Right.
And not just going by what everybody else says or what they consider normal.
Right. Normal, yes. Do you feel like people are looking, we're going to go back to that. Do you feel like people are looking for a different way?
I think now more people are, trying to find a new way and maybe explore other options. Mm-hmm. Once they hear other stories and
right,
how.
Which I think is the most important part, is to be out there and share stories of ways that people are not going mainstream. And it's not a black or white, this or that necessarily, but you're a researcher, you're analytical. So you did lots of work, and you still do, of understanding, like, why are they doing this? Why do people think like this? Why are we not thinking? How many conversations do you and I have about, like, this doesn't even make sense. Why do we continue to do this, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so can you talk about the difference or what you meant by normal?
Well, I think everybody thinks it's normal, that kids go to daycare, they're going to be sick. Instead of looking at building up their immune system and, connecting their body to make it work as a whole. I think everybody just, thinks that everybody gets headaches and normally all the time. And, maybe what they consider normal, but it's not normal. It might be normal for society. But.
Yep. How do we help people see that doesn't have to be that way?
I think, like, personally, if it's somebody in the family or even coworkers, I think they see what I do and realize that, oh geez, they don't, they don't do that. And, she's not always running to grab Tylenol and everything else, and just try to do a more natural approach and just kind of address the issue instead of covering it up is my biggest thing. And then I don't know, just talking and sharing.
How do you raise your kids in that model of addressing the issue versus covering it up?
I think just with our kids, we talk a lot about, we go to you all the time. Make sure their body is, working and properly, connecting with everything in their body. And we, we talk a lot about the effects of food, the effects of, sleep, and, trying to have some fun and control the stress. I guess just bringing awareness to them, and they notice things themselves. They know when they've had too much sugar that it makes them feel crappy. They know, when they're not getting their proper sleep. Like Alex will try to go stay up all night with his friends and play video games, but he always knows the effects of it, and he tries to minimize it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, he's only 16. So as we know, they're going to test those boundaries and continue, all the way through, right? We continue to test the boundaries.
I fully expect him, to do that, but he knows, right, how to take care of himself and do.
And a kid who is more disconnected or maybe not healthy, like your kids are, I believe they wouldn't even know when things change, like how does a kid who's already struggling in whatever, either chronic pain or hyperactivity or being sick all the time, how do they even know when their body is talking to them?
Right. Yeah. You're definitely much more aware, when you look at different options and you're adjusted, normally. And you're just much, I can tell things in my body that I could never have been able to tell before.
Yeah. I say it like it's, I describe it as a dimness, because so many people will say, was that picture always there? Or, oh my gosh, was it always like this outside? When you're kind of living in a dull world or a dim world. And you and I still can have a day or a week that we're a little bit more dim if stress is higher and we're struggling with certain things, or our kids are, like naturally, but now we're aware. We have that first step in healing, I believe, is just truly awareness and knowing what our bodies are telling us,
Right.
Because Alyssa was adjusted since day one, close to day one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ever since, not long after she was born.
Yeah, no, it was a few days. I remember we were in the old office.
Yeah.
I don't think you were there that day. I think it was just Dave.
Could have been.
Yeah. So what have you noticed in her? Just knowing that she was adjusted her whole life, and that's the first thing you do if she's starting to teeter in immune system or sleep or attitude, mood, stress, hockey, whatever the case may be. What have you noticed a difference between the two kids?
Oh, definitely. And I get grief from Alex all the time because he was our guinea pig, and we didn't know better for the first 3 years. But no, Alyssa, she has been on 0 medications. She's had colds, or stomach flu, for a day, but she doesn't hold on to it for weeks on end like many of her classmates or, friends do. And we haven't had she can go for normal checkups, and, she doesn't have to run to the doctor all the time. And I think she's much more mindful of her health and just taking care of herself. And she's a sharp kid, so she can she has a clear mind to think of everything that
which I just think growing up in a family like yours, it's just what the stuff that you talk about naturally. She has just a few more years of that training than Alex did, right? Because it is true. It's never too late to see a family chiropractor, The ones I can completely see when kids are chiro kids, though. Sounds weird.
You can.
They have a different light. They have, I mean, even just looking at the bulk of my practice being, 80% family, you can see who's been adjusted for a long time versus who hasn't. Totally. In how they carry themselves, in posture, in the light in their eyes, in everything. From my perspective, many times I will be, if I'm watching basketball or if we're out at the grocery store or whatever, and I will say many times to my crew, like, it's a chiro kid. You can just see how they carry themselves and the connection that they have with themselves. And then when you have a connection with yourself, you obviously have it with humanity, and you have it with everybody else around you too.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think, it affects education, sports, everything, just how their mind and body can work.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's just amazing. So, let's talk about sports just for a minute. Can you?
Sure.
What do you think? So what I'm trying to say is chiropractic an edge for your kids in the sports world?
I believe definitely that, it gives them a competitive edge, and they can, I think there's just the ability for their quick thinking and their skills and, just connecting their mind and their body is huge. Plus, it doesn't hurt when, they do have an injury in hockey, that we can get everything back aligned again.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I talk about it with the words that I use a lot are adaptability and resilience. So just even in a game, right? How quickly can they adapt to change, to different situations, to stress, to their teammates, to their coaches, and then resilience of, just like you said, whether it's an injury or chronic breakdown. It takes the majority of kids, it takes kids that aren't adjusted a lot longer to heal typically, or aren't healing at that 100%. You saw it this year a ton, didn't you, in high school hockey?
Oh, definitely.
Like how quickly kids would pop back or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and with Alyssa being a goalie as well, that's a lot of mental and physical,
yeah.
For her to be able to process everything. And
awesome. So what is the one thing that you would share with people that maybe aren't sure, or maybe are looking for something else, are really intrigued but don't know what to do next?
I think the number one thing would be just to set up an appointment with you and Lindy, just to go through and, talk about the changes, that can be made, and just to get a perspective on how it can help your health and, just help your life. And you don't have to spend all your time going, for doctor visits and medications and being, homesick with your kids, and just giving them the ability to have their body do what it's made to do.
Body do what it's made to do. I just don't know if people know what that is. Right.
You even talk to people that are in your field and they still don't connect. They don't connect the health and wellness with chiropractic. So definitely have to find one that treats the body as a whole, and not just for yearly back pain.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the first things you said is Dave went to a medical chiropractor. I actually wrote it down. Because I think there is I think that's really a point that needs to be talked about more everywhere, is the different styles, right? So there's different styles of OBs and gynecologists and dentists and everything, physical therapists. There's different styles of all of it. So finding the one philosophy that works the best for you. I always believe the body is brilliant, not broken, as do you. It is meant to do amazing things if it's not interfered with, right? And that is, many times I will tell chiropractors that's the viewpoint, and they look at me like I am bonkers. So that's not necessarily a good or bad thing, but it's definitely marketing. It's what people know to be true. So you can go to a sports injury chiropractor or I say holistic in my world, but really focusing on vitality and unleashing the healing potential of everybody and every body. Those two don't go together.
No.
So many people will try multiple, like, oh, I've been to so many, and then they just give up because, like you said, that's all Dave knew is it was effective for 24 hours, and I'm going to need to spend $1,000 a month to go every single day to continue to
Right, and still didn't have the results.
Right. Because that was limitation of matter, is like the best way to say is you can adjust even just from a chiropractor standpoint. If I am looking at the body to just heal that pain, your neck today, and I'm not looking at all of the other things, like my intent is everything when I'm adjusting you. So my intent for unleashing that full potential of the body to heal is way different than the intent of getting this knee swelling to go down so that he or she can compete tomorrow. Those are two very different things. And that's how I try to distinguish with people. Like it's more so what you're looking for, because there are a bajillion different kinds. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish we could just say, this is really chiropractic. But that's not, especially in the Midwestern area.
Right.
A little bit more conservative, not maybe knowing there are other options out there. So, which I'm sure if you're talking to people and you have this conversation like, well, Alyssa's just starting to get a tickle in her throat, so I got to leave work and I got to get her to the chiropractor before they close. People think you're bonkers.
Yeah, probably, but that's all right.
That's why we all just decide to hang together, right? Anything else?
They'll come around.
Yeah. Well, right. And planting the seed is the most important, I think. You just continue to plant seeds of hope, of brilliance, and one day they might grow for that person, and a lot of them won't, right? But at least in that moment, that maybe in their darkest hour, they remember something you said or something your kids went through that you mentioned, and that might be that seed that comes back. So I guess I think talking about people's experiences and stories is the most important way to help other people see hope that it could be different. We enter into COVID right now, and just the amount of anxiety and depression in kids and parents is out of control. So those would be the times, right, that our voice needs to be louder so that they might listen, right? They might hear that they might have hope and their reality could be different than what they're experiencing right now. So
yeah, right now it makes me think about when Alex was 6, right when Melissa was born back in 2009, and I hurry up and ran out and got him the H1N1, or was it that one, or the swine flu? Because I had a newborn, I had to go get him vaccinated because I couldn't have the risk to her. And oh my gosh, I just kick myself every day for that. Because I could see the effects on him from that shot.
Yeah.
And I've talked to other parents within his hockey team that their kids have experienced the exact same thing. Where the weirdest thing, will not touch an egg for the life of them.
Oh.
And that's what another mom had said too. And then woke up with night terrors and all of that for several years.
Wow.
We didn't know what the heck was going on. And then when I talked to another parent, that her son had the exact same thing.
Yeah.
From getting that. So it's like, well, not going that path again.
No, and I know, right. And you do enough research to now know that that is very common
Right.
for a lot of kids, and especially kids that already have an immune compromise of some sort, which he did. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor every month and meds all the time and tubes just makes you further down the totem pole of immune function.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's super interesting. I completely forgot about that. I remember that. I remember talking through that. Well, so think of all the things that are thrown at us.
Mm-hmm.
That if we don't have a philosophy of how we think our body should work or what we put into our body, or I believe we're given everything that we need to heal. That doesn't mean that chronic disease isn't a thing. It for sure is a thing, but it goes way back to the beginning of how did that body work and what did we do to try to get it to work better. But I guess I would choose not to put anything into my body from the outside. I feel like it has what it needs, right? So if you were given that threat again, there would be no question, right?
Right.
That you just didn't know, you didn't own it.
Well, it was just fear, you're bringing home a newborn. Oh, geez, you better hurry up. You don't want to pass it on to your newborn.
Absolutely.
Which is just nuts.
Which is nuts, right? Because that just goes into the thinking that a newborn is also weak,
Mm-hmm.
which they aren't. Ooh, yeah, we could talk about a lot of deep stuff probably that people wouldn't for sure know what we were talking about.
I just think a lot of awareness, especially right now, just think things through and know that your body can do a lot.
Right. Yeah, it can do way more than we think it can. And it can be exposed to billions and billions of things and still fight it off as long as it continues to be exposed to some things, right? That it doesn't, isolation is not good for the soul or the heart or the immune system or the anything at this moment, which is the germ theory. when you said, well, my kids go to daycare, so it's normal that they're going to get sick. Think of how many people think like that.
Oh yeah, because that's what we heard from the doctor, was, oh yeah, well, they're in daycare, come to expect that.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to do something to, boost their immune system and letting them be able to fight off everything they come in contact with.
Right. Well, because what if a doctor would say, it doesn't matter what doctor, what if a doctor would say, daycare is helping their immune system right now? I think as a parent, you'd completely think differently. You wouldn't be scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because so you get your kids into daycare and they're exposed to all this stuff, which they've never been exposed to. Let's say they go at 6 weeks or a year, you're home with them for a year. And now they go, well, of course they're going to get sick because they're inundated and their immune system does not know how to respond. But gradually, if their body is strong and it's functioning well, that germ should not take them down. What if they were teaching that? What if they were saying, as soon as they continue to get sick, we know we have an immune system problem, but those germs are actually making them healthier. Like, can you imagine what the philosophy of COVID would be right now? How it would be different?
Yeah, it's, crazy.
Yeah, I could talk a long time about that, so I better not. Anything else you want to shout with a megaphone?
I think just don't be hesitant to go and try new things and to, welcome yourself to the world of chiropractic and be open to new things and do your research and, try to find somebody that is like a holistic practitioner, that can look at blood work a little differently and try to cover issues before they become big issues. And
right. Yeah, I love that. I love the kind of like finding your holistic team, right? People that look at life in your body in a way of brilliance, not brokenness, and not what's wrong and how to treat it.
Yeah, I think your body's just a big powerhouse, and when it works all together, you can just lead a wonderful life and not have to worry about, illness and everything else. Of course, there's always going to be, some degree of it, but.
Yeah. And that really truly is normal. The chronic part of that is not normal.
No.
And when we as mamas can be strong in that faith of the body and communication and awareness, then that's when we can start to raise healthy kiddos. And that's, I believe, I don't believe, I know we're struggling. Kids are struggling.
Oh yeah, you just think about how many kids, they don't even know, why or, what is wrong, and all the behavior problems in schools and everything right now. I mean,
right.
All,
Right. Yeah. Thanks for sharing your story.
Yes, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I can't wait for your perspective to get out to the world, because the fact that you all are like this and live this way, and your kids will start to, just like Alex is doing already, starting to lead other kids' mindsets into what the body can actually do, that it doesn't need things from the outside to fight, and that it has everything it needs to function at 100%. So I appreciate you being my lighthouse, my friend.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Love you all.
Love you too.
Thank you so much for listening and being willing to go all in. Ditch the excuses and the comfort zones and make a decision that nothing can stop you. You can find the show notes below, and I'd love for you to share, subscribe, and rate this podcast, but only if you love it.